Hey everybody, welcome to Mountain in the Mist. Today I am so excited to unbox our new meat slicer. We've been using a cheap old meat slicer for a long time, and I've had my eye on this one for a while. So I'm really excited that Kitchenware Station sent it to us, and I can't wait to see what's in the box. So let's get in there. Now to start, it's really nicely packaged, styrofoam on the sides, all wrapped up tight. So I'm pretty confident that nothing got damaged in there. I'm gonna go ahead and get this unwrapped and then we'll come right back. We got all the outside wrapping off. Let's get into the box. So we've got the meat slicer and a little bag of accessories here. We're gonna go ahead and get it all unwrapped. So we've gotten everything out of the box now. This is all that came with it. Here we've got the main slicer itself, of course. We've got the blade removal tool over here, which was a really specific reason why I wanted this model. Similarly, we have a sharpener, another reason I really chose this model. We've got an instruction manual, some spare parts, a guard and handle, and some bolts to put it all together. So I'm gonna do some quick assembly of this thing and get it ready for slicing. The first thing I'm gonna do is put this handle on. Screws on just like that. And then I'll remove this. We'll go ahead and put the sharpener on there. Perfect. And then we'll go ahead and assemble this guard on the carriage unit here. We've got the slicer all put together in its final form. One of the things that I immediately noticed is that everything is metal except for this little arm guard here, which I really like. Compared to our old slicer that we had, this is much more heavy duty. It weighs about 40 pounds and it's, a 1.5 feet long by 1.5 feet wide. Pretty big piece of machinery to have in your kitchen. It's not something that we keep on the counter all the time though. We take it out when we want to use it and we put it away in storage when we don't. So the size is nice and maneuverable, but also sturdy enough to use for bigger pieces of meat. This slicer has a 10-inch stainless steel blade on it, while our last slicer only had a 7-inch carbon steel blade. This blade's much larger and stronger for long-term use. This one also has a 320-watt motor, where our last one only had a 200-watt motor, and it would get quite bogged down cutting semi-frozen meats and hard cheeses. I'm hoping this one has a much easier time powering through those hard to cut things. KWS has many models of this meat slicer. I chose this one specifically because of the all metal construction, the built-in sharpener, and the blade removal tool here for safe blade removal and easy cleaning. This thing makes our last meat slicer that we used for years look small and flimsy and pathetic. So I'm really excited to get it in the kitchen and give it a shot. Let's go. We've got this thing set up on the kitchen counter. It fits just perfectly under our cabinets and on the width of our counter. So we're ready to get slicing. After that little bit of assembly I showed y'all earlier, all we need to do is plug this thing in and set the thickness for whatever it is we want to slice. This thing goes up to about 1/2 inch thick. We're going to start off slicing some pancetta. So we're going to slice nice and thin. We're going to grab this pancetta arrotellata that I made last year. Put it on the carriage here, flush against the blade. Swing this weight down on top of it to hold everything in place. We want a nice thin slice, so I'm gonna set it for 1.5 millimeters, and we'll see how that is. One push of the button turns the blade on and it's spinning. Incredibly quiet machine, much more quiet than our old one, which was a lot less powerful, so that's kind of cool. Now we're gonna go ahead and push this meat across the slicer and see how it does. Very easy cut. These pieces are a little bit thick for how I like my pancetta, so I'm going to go down to about 3/4 of a millimeter. That's closer to the thickness I'd like to snack on. And just for fun, let's see how much we can push this machine. See if we can get it down to, let's try under 1/2 millimeter. So really thin, like shaved meat for Philly cheesesteak sandwiches. Wow, it cuts incredibly smooth, and even This thin of a slice stays together pretty well. You can see through it, it's so thin. Probably pretty delicious. Let's try some raw meat. Here's a top round from a lamb that we're gonna slice up to make jerky, just like in our jerky video that you can watch here. Let's get it loaded up on the slicer and start slicing. Make sure it's all snugged up. For jerky, I like to set it to about 5 millimeters. So we'll see what that looks like on this slicer. And we'll turn it on and get slicing. So it's important to note that this meat is actually pretty frozen. So the slicer is doing its best to slice frozen meat here, and it's doing a really good job. Cuts through it pretty easily. Gives us a nice even slice all the way through. And you can see how fast this thing can really cut once you get going. Makes quick work of this semi-frozen meat. That's a pound of meat sliced in under a minute. Now that we're done slicing, let's see how we can take this thing apart to clean it. First, we're gonna unplug it, make sure we don't have any accidents. And then to take the carriage off, we're just going to undo this knob here. This whole thing slides off for cleaning in the sink. And then really, the main thing we wanna do is get this blade off. And that was a big reason I chose this model over the others, because this one does have a removable blade, whereas a lot of slicers in this range only have a blade that you clean while it's on the slicer. So to get to the blade, we take the sharpener off. I'll make a future video about how to use the sharpener, so be on the lookout for that. And then we unscrew this knob on the back here to release the blade guard. Pop that off. All of this can easily be washed in the sink. And then finally we have the blade. Now to get the blade off, it's best to use this blade removal tool so you don't have to risk any cuts fooling around with this kind of heavy blade, awkward shaped, and trying to peel it off of here. So what you do is you just screw this thing in to these two holes. Make sure the bolt's kind of coming out the back so it's secure. And then you take your screwdriver and you remove the blade with 3 screws here. Got those 3 screws out. And now all you're gonna do is grab the plastic here where it's safe and lift that blade on out. Now be careful, the blade edge is exposed all the way around and it is incredibly sharp, but you can clean it on the back now. You can use your hand in this center hole to hold it. Just don't touch the edges. Pretty much everything can now either be cleaned in the sink or wiped down very thoroughly with a rag, and you're good to go for next time. And that's about it for the unboxing and a quick demo of this Kitchenware Station commercial meat slicer. As for a review after that one-time use, there's a few things I really like about this machine already. Number 1, I love that it comes apart fully for easy, thorough cleaning. I love that the blade doesn't stay on and it's got this nice guard for taking it off without having to juggle this heavy, sharp blade in your hands. On the note of being so disassemblable, I love that it has spare parts available. You can get pretty much any part for this thing direct from Kitchenware Station, which really hopefully makes it a lifelong machine. That's important to me. As far as the performance of this machine goes, it was incredible. It cut the frozen lamb for jerky really quickly without bogging down the motor at all. And it cut the charcuterie very thin, very consistently. This thing cuts slices evenly all the way through, which is really important. And you can go really, really fast, which is awesome for doing large amounts of meat. One thing I really appreciated about this machine over our old slicer is the level of noise. This thing is super quiet when it's running, can easily have a conversation. Our last machine, even though it was half as powerful, sounded like meh the whole time, which wasn't very fun when you were slicing a bunch of meat up. The only real con about this machine is the price. It's about 3 times more expensive than our old cheap Chinese slicer was, but it's definitely more than 3 times the machine, so I think it's worth it. Outside of a real commercial slicer like a Hobart, this is the best thing you're gonna find. For any homesteader or home chef looking for the best slicer for their kitchen, this is maneuverable, powerful, and more than enough to get the job done at this scale. Thanks for watching this video, and thanks to Kitchenware Station for sending the slicer our way. Make sure you subscribe for more content, including a video on how to sharpen the blade coming up and a special bacon recipe video. So be on the lookout for that. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you all soon.